42. My libido's through the roof. I'm enough for 10 women. So you can't possibly
know,
be in my house
crazy.
in multiple houses.
Every year I get older, I'm like, what am I going to do?
What is going on?
Oh, I have to have sex every day and I can't.
We got to get married.
Oh
we got to find a husband so we can just take
him
him down every morning, every night. Even
it doesn't used to
we
be
need
this
it.
way.
Yeah,
I'm
let
like,
me take a sip. Oh, Lord have
Mm-hmm.
mercy.
It's warm in here.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, welcome to season 2 of Too Personal. I'm Joy Taylor. I'm your host. Thanks so much for joining us. Thank you for staying with us. If you are already a subscriber, if you're new here, welcome. Very excited to have you. If you were with us last year, then of course you know that Taylor Rooks and I launched Too Personal last year. It was an amazing time. Taylor is an extremely busy woman, and with her NFL and NBA commitments in 2025, she's not going to be able to do Too Personal in season 2. So I will be your host moving forward. And I'm very excited for this season and what we have coming up. Today, on our very first episode, my dear friend, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, is joining us. She's a life coach. She's a psychology expert. She's a writer. She's brilliant, and you have definitely seen her viral moments across social media talking about relationships and love and mental health and many other topics, and we get very spicy on today's episode. So very excited to have Dr. Cheyenne Bryant on the show with us. And of course, we always start Too Personal with a couple topics that are trending and that I feel very strongly about. And I've talked about this a couple times on different platforms, but if you don't know, I don't have any children. I have 13 nieces and nephews and a 14th on the way. So I have a massive family. I have 6 brothers and sisters, and I love kids, but I don't plan on having any children of my own. No, I do not want to be your baby mother, and no, I am not going to have your child, and no, I didn't come to this decision lightly. I actually don't even think it was a decision that I made. I've just never wanted to be a mother. I've never wanted to be pregnant, and that's it. I don't really have any other great grand explanation for you. However, I do find our society's obsession with children to be very weird. And currently, as we are inching closer and closer to Gilead, those of you that watch A Handmaid's Tale know what I'm talking about, and that's horrifying. Another thing has come across the news cycle today. The New York Times had an article about the White House, and they want a baby boom. Now, this at the surface could seem like a good thing, right? They're kind of packaging it as they want to encourage the American family. They want to encourage women to have more children. They want families, not just babies. But really what they want is a working class. They're running low on the working class bodies. That's what this is about. It's not even actually about religion or pro-life or any of these things. It's really just they are running out of people to do jobs for them. And so they're packaging it as they want families. Now, it sounds like I'm being sarcastic, but I'm actually not. And I feel very, very passionately about this, and I've talked about this many times. If you want to have a child, have a child. I love it for you, and you should do that. But if we're going to talk about why people aren't having children and why women are not having children specifically and why women are not getting married and why women are not wanting to procreate with today's men. Let's not just boil it down to feminism, okay? Please don't bore me with the ease of that explanation, all right? I'm not out here encouraging anyone to not have children just because I don't. In fact, I think it is a huge mistake if you want to have a child to be with someone who doesn't want to have a child, which is why I've broken up relationships that I've had before, because I know they want to have children and I do not. And nothing that they're going to say or do is going to convince me of that. And I think it would be a travesty if someone wants to be a parent to not do that just because I don't want a child. I think it's important. I think that that is a goal in life that you should try to achieve if it matters to you. That being said, let's just talk about what it is they're actually doing here. Because Trump, Vance, and Musk, 3 people who I don't want any advice about family from, have cultivated this movement because of the declining birth rates. And they want to persuade women to have children. Okay. Well, one of the reasons that women are not having children the way they were before is because, let's say, 50 years ago, I existed, right? And I don't want kids, and I want to be a businesswoman and live my life and travel the world. Well, unfortunately, I need a husband to get me a credit card. He has to sign off on the credit card. And at one point, I needed a husband so that I could buy a house. So I needed a man to even be considered a person, to even be a citizen in this country. That doesn't exist anymore. So now I have the autonomy, thank God, actually thank feminism, that I can live and exist without having to be attached to a man and live the life that I want to live, which is why I'm very happy. Well, years ago, that wouldn't have been an option for me. I would have had to have a man. I would have had to have children. And I probably would have been a bad mother and probably a bad wife. And I'd have to figure it out because that's the options that are available to me. This whole trad wife movement, like, we hate women who are trad wives. No, I don't. I think it's brilliant. I think if that is what you want to be, and you want to be a stay-home mom and you want to make children, that is exactly what the fuck you should do. This whole thing is about women having options. So let's talk about the women who want to have children, people who would like to have big families. Well, that's pretty pricey, guys. When you're running up tariffs and the cost of eggs are $40 fucking dollars, what do you expect people to do with the process of feeding, housing, clothing, educating their children? It's pretty expensive. Let's see. They do numbers on this. In 2024, Massachusetts, the most expensive state, it costs $36,000 a year to raise a child. Do you have that laying around? In 18 years, it's going to cost you $650,000. Now, I know how everyone's like, well, just don't live in Massachusetts. Some people can't help where they're born and where they grow up. I love that. I love that idea. I left Pittsburgh because I had the resources to leave Pittsburgh. I know people in Pittsburgh now who do not have the resources to move somewhere else in case Pittsburgh became extremely expensive. So that's not how these things work. Things cost money. Children cost money. Of course, if you plan on keeping them alive, which is something else that we don't give a fuck about in this country, because let's talk about the number one killer of children in this country. Guns. Guns are the number one killer of children in this country. Not a disease, not gum disease, not measles, not raw milk, not the color 5 in the fucking food. None of that. The number one killer of children in this country is gun violence. Something that is 100% preventable. So you are telling me, and don't get into me with 100% preventable. I've been to other countries. You clearly haven't. Other places around the world do not have gun violence. Their children do not have any anxiety about going to school with bulletproof backpacks because it is not a thing that happens there. And I'm not anti-gun. I'm actually very pro-gun. But the reason I'm pro-gun is because we're never going to do a fucking goddamn thing about gun violence in this country. And we certainly don't give a fuck if the babies are slaughtered at school. You know how I know that? Because babies get killed at school and we don't do shit about it. So you can't sit here and tell me that you guys are pro-family. All of this is really about making a working class. And the way that this whole thing is being packaged is that it's partly religious, which it is, but it's mostly about creating a family structure and helping women to get away from the idea that they need to work and they really need to raise families. Listen, if you want to stay home and raise your children, I think that's exactly what you should do. And I think it would be amazing if we in this country right now had the economic stability for one parent to make enough money so that the other parent could stay home and raise their children and the childcare prices weren't so fucking expensive that they didn't have that option. They take options off the table for people and then blame women for why they're not making babies. We're not making babies because we don't fucking want to and never have. In any version of society that I, Joy Taylor, existed, I would not want to have children. There are plenty of women like me. It's not our fucking fault that raising a child costs thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And then you send them off to school never knowing if they're going to come home because they could get their head shot off by somebody who has a gun and doesn't have any access to mental health because we don't give a fuck about that either. So look, I'm all about families. I've always said there's no way on earth I would ever have a man's child who I wasn't married to. I think family is so important. I think parenting is important. And I think the future of society, AKA children, should be protected and are very important. But pick a fucking flex, guys. All right, Musk, Vance, Trump. You care about the future of women? You want women to have babies? Cool. Okay, let's talk about it. How about instead of giving $1.24 billion from 2019 to 2023 for startups addressing erectile dysfunction, why don't we give a little bit more money to startups addressing endometriosis that got $44 million? In 2020, 1% of healthcare research and innovation, 1% was invested in female conditions beyond oncology. Okay, Invest in women's healthcare. Well, let's do that. You want women to be healthier. You want them to be able to have babies. Let's do that. Let's invest in women's healthcare. Let's do it, guys. I'm here for it. I'm here for the revolution for women. I think you should invest in women's healthcare. I think women should be able to go to the doctor and tell the doctor that they don't feel well, and the doctor helps address it. I think Black women's mortality rates when they are pregnant and go to the hospital should be lower. I think they should have better access to healthcare so that they don't think that when they're going to deliver their baby that they're going to die. Keep it consistent or shut the fuck up and tell the truth, which is that you would like the women of the United States of America to produce a working class for you. That's what the fuck this is about. So let's have the conversation, but stop pitching me that it's feminism's fault. It's always fucking feminism's fault. This is Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. She is a psychology expert, a renowned life coach, co-producer of MTV's Teen Mom Family Reunion. She is the president of branch number 1069 of the NAACP, the author of Mental Detox, The Power and Guidance to Implement Peace, Joy, Balance, and Financial Abundance into Your Life. Welcome to Too Personal.
Girl, listen, this is like, I'm excited to be here for one. I've told you off air anyways that I love your work, right? On the network, I call it the sports show, but you corrected me the name of it. I love how you're spicy. I love how you bring it. I love that you're a straight shooter. And so, I mean, I'm happy to be here, and I'm just happy to be able to share whatever gems that we can share and whatever, allows people to shift into a better place of just a better quality of life or getting their mental health in a place that's better than it was before. Because that's what I do, and that's what I love to do. And I'm able to do it from a place of straight from the hip because I'm not really here to be liked. I'm here to interrupt dysfunctional cycles and patterns that no longer serve our community. And it's not just about the Black community because mental health is a human right. It's not a one race, one gender, or one culture right. It's a human right. But because I happen to be Black and woman and Latina, right, I'm going to start in the communities that look like me. And so thank you for having the platform and for allowing me to be able to be here and use your platform commingled with my platform to be able to change lives and just bring the truth. Because we can't heal a lie.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I feel the same way about you and everything that you're doing, which is why I'm really excited to have you on. Because, listen, I recognize a tough, spicy woman. That is what I do every day as well. And I have lots of questions because I've been a fan of yours for a while. And there's been moments where I'm like, ooh, she's better than me. She's better than me. Oh, child. Because I see how people try you. And I get tried all the time. Obviously, I work in sports, so I've been dealing with irrational feedback for my entire career. And, you've had some pretty high-profile pushbacks, so to speak. So how do you keep it together? Because me personally, I'm like, and I can see this in you, so that's really why I'm asking you, because I'd be like, I wish a motherfucker would every day try and talk to me like that. Because you really can't check for me anyway. Yeah. But you kept it together. You were very graceful and composed, which is the right thing to do because then you actually get your point across. And when I start to get hot, I have to remind myself, like, when your face starts to get hot and you get that feeling where you're like, oh, I'm about to crash out.
Yeah, and your spirit's like, take them the fuck out.
Yeah, because that's really what they're asking for.
Like,
that's really what they desire. Because why the fuck else would they be talking to me like this? Right. So how do you quench that spirit?
So I'm authentically the same person, whether it's Dr. Bryant or Cheyenne. But Dr. Bryant has a purpose, and I understand that. And so when I'm in that space and I have my psychology hat on, I just have a lot of grace and compassion. And I'm not really seeing what you're saying. I'm seeing the pain at which it comes from. And I'm not really hearing what you're saying. I'm actually decoding that you're asking and screaming for help. And so whenever somebody's in a place of projecting pain or trauma or projecting this resistance onto you, wherever the resistance is, the pain is. And so in that space, I'm going, wow, like you are really screaming for help from somebody who really couldn't code that this is your trauma who is showing up for you in this conversation. And because I am an expert in this field, I would be doing them and myself a disservice and everyone else, all the rest of my clients and people who are on my platform who listen to me because of my expertise, a disservice for me to not see the pain in that. And so I'm speaking to the hurt little boy in them, right? Or the hurt little girl in them, or the pain in them, the trauma in them. I'm not speaking to the adult in them who knows they totally out of pocket talking to me. Right. Because if I did, then I wouldn't be able to disarm them. It would be war. because I know that my words can take somebody out. Not just anyone's. I'm saying my particular words, me, can totally just dismantle somebody. And it's not only that I know it because I know me, I've done it before. And because of that, I choose to make sure that I'm not dismantling someone who's already broken. I'm not crushing someone who's already coming ripped apart, because that's just not what I want to do. And there's times where I have to self-talk and I have to be like, okay, this is where you gotta tap into your self-talk, Dr. B, and you gotta make sure Cheyenne don't step in. That little girl from the hood don't step in. You know, I went from the hood to the hills, so choose the hills today. Choose the hills. But I feel better, honestly, Joy, when I make sure that I come from a place of really helping somebody, like the Bible says, come to themselves. And really see that, wait a minute, there was nothing in her that was really trying to poke or that had an intention of adding salt to my wound. So that's why she was able to stay so composed. And then the other thing is, you know, when you come from a place, and I said this on Breakfast Club, when you come from a place of inner city, the hood, and you come from certain adversities, or I came from teenage parents. You know, my mom was addicted to the drug that my father sold, and thank God now she's recovered and she's killing it, and the VP of my company, doing all these amazing things. But when you come from that, you're the little girl in the hood and the oldest of 7, the first grandchild. You don't have anyone to look up to. You're used to hearing adversity. You're used to hearing outside chatter. And so when you grow up in that space, you learn and you grow something that's called a strong internal locus. And you learn how to really not give a fuck when nobody cares about you, but learn how to care about them. And so for me, again, the Bible says it was good for me that I was afflicted, because my affliction has built me for a time like this. Yeah. And so when somebody, you know, when the little dog comes to the big dog park, we big dogs, when they come to the big dog park and they seem to be having a lot to say, the Yorkies got a lot of bark, yep. Right? Then I understand I'm a Cane Corso. I understand how big I am. And so I don't have to speak it or belittle you. My presence is enough for you to know who's in the room and who you fucking with.
Yeah, that's going to take me a little work to get to where you are,
okay.
Because I'm on the opposite side of the journey. I'm getting bitter and more angry and getting less grace. Like, I've been saying recently that I have less and less empathy for people, and this is why you're Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, and you're here to do the good work.
No, but I love that, and I want to hear you explain that, because I mean, that's
you know
real.
What? I think I've been watching a lot of your videos. I feel on the same wavelength as you for a lot of things, and we'll get into some of it. But one of the things is, like, when you are a powerful woman, and when you're a woman who dares to show up as yourself and to give your opinion and to be unapologetic and to go toe to toe with other powerful, egotistical men, when you work in a space where there's a lot of masculine energy, your vibrations are very aggressive. And you have to in order to survive. And I have a different story, but a similar story in growing up around abuse and growing up with people constantly talking down to me, talking down to everyone around you, like emotional, mental terrorism, really, that puts you in a space where you're not even a child anymore. So it's very difficult for me to be vulnerable and to tap into, like, I don't fucking know you. Like, I care about my family. I care about my friends. You, on the other hand, can die.
And don't talk to me like that, right?
Like, no, you can literally die. Like, I don't have it in me to get to care about you. Yeah. And I think that I'm trying to be aware of how much hate and how much negativity and how much social is pumping all of this stuff into us. And I have to be aware that I'm vulnerable to those kind of messages as well, because what you're saying is right, but I don't have that yet.
But I want to ask you this: how does that defense mechanism, how does it show up and work when you're in romantic relationships?
So it's interesting that you asked that, because you said something that I wanted to ask you about, because I fucking 100% relate to this. And I get this question a lot. And I get a lot from men too, who are like, oh, like, this is how you act in a relationship. Like, baby, please, come on. I am an alpha submissive.
Yeah.
And I love being soft with my man, and it's the only way I actually can be around a man. If a man is around me and brings out, as soon as that Corso starts snaring, I'm not even interested anymore, because, like you, my tongue, I am going to say something that is going to mentally and emotionally destroy you. That's my goal, actually. If you put me in a space where I'm in a corner and I have to defend myself or I have to fight my way out of this, I'm going to employ the things that I have at my disposal. I talk for a living. I'm going to say something that's going to fuck you up for your whole life. This thing I've been holding on to because you put me in that position. And men who are attracted to women like us understand to create a space where you don't feel attacked, where you don't feel challenged in negative ways, because you can challenge us. You can have hard conversations, but you have to create a space where I feel safe.
Yep.
That's the only man I want to be around, is someone that makes me feel safe, not just physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially. And yeah, I'm gonna be a little baby girl. I'm not trying to fight with you.
Yeah,
baby.
but I love that you said that, because I was having a conversation earlier with one of my clients, and I was saying we use this word alpha, right? And I use it too by being a hybrid, alpha submissive. But alpha really isn't something that exists in us women. But we use it to describe when we get out of our feminine. And all it is exactly what you said. When a woman feels like she's in an unsafe environment, then you will see her defend herself. And her defending herself goes into what looks like a masculine energy.
Right.
And if a man attempts to double down on that masculine energy, then that ends up being an abusive, hostile situation and environment.
And it's negative that we even think that that type of behavior is attached to being masculine.
Yes, yes. And so the correct response, I was telling the gentleman earlier, is to ask your partner, your woman, baby, I see that you're unsafe right now. What have I done or what happened that caused you to be unsafe? Help me facilitate you so that I know how I have to pivot, I know who I have to check, or I know how I can facilitate you. So if I did it, I need to understand how I make sure I don't put you back into that corner that you call the corner, that unsafe space. Because the only reason why you're out of your softness is because you're no longer disarmed. You're at war.
Yeah.
And
I'm with someone
like you
who
said,
I've
if I'm
been
at war, I'm here to
vulnerable
take
with.
you out.
Right. I'm not going to lose.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to put myself in a position to lose. But I was raised by an abusive father. I've been in physically abusive relationships. Any kind of abuse that's happened, you can check for me.
Wow.
So
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. I've done a lot of work and am still doing work. But when, that question arises, that's the answer though. Like I can't afford to be unsafe around men. I work with a lot of men who are all, I hate the word alpha too. It's just like so overused.
Masculine
and it means
men.
nothing. But
Yeah.
just, they have achieved a lot of things. They are one percenters in a lot of ways, whether it's money or power or, legacy, accomplishments, all these things. So in order to move around that space with confidence, you have to truly exude confidence and not any kind of insecurity, because people can sense that. Even other powerful women can sense that. And we're all vulnerable in a lot of ways, but you have to do, and I have done work to understand how to set up boundaries and recognize, okay, this is an unsafe space. What do you think about, we say like gut feelings, or I use the word energy a lot, but that is something that usually gets triggered, is when your body is telling you like,
spirit,
this is not a safe space for me.
But I think that there has to be a self-awareness of, am I triggered, or is this really an unsafe environment? And that comes from the self-work, right?
Yeah.
And so the other thing is, I was going to ask you, are you transparent and forthcoming with, listen, I come from an abused background. Abuse really triggers me. And because of that, I have like an abuse trauma response to things. And this is what my abuse trauma response looks like. So if you see me in that space, these are the tools you use to help facilitate me. Because if we provide that information from the beginning, then we're at least giving someone the chance, the opportunity to know how to be with us. And if they choose not to, we know we pivot. That ain't the person for us. I know I told my last fiance, look, I'm an abandoned little girl who has turned into an abandoned woman. And we were at dinner table, and I remember him saying, I want to be in a relationship with you. I want this. I said, before I say yes, I want to make sure you know who you choosing. I'm an abandoned woman, and I've done a lot of work, and so she will be doormat a lot of the time. But when she isn't, she's inflamed. And she can easily start to create things because of her abandonment's going to inflame. She may even start to think you're going to sabotage or leave. And when she does, she can be uncontrollable. She can come off as very insecure. She is going to want to do things like look in your phone. She's going to want to do things like ask you questions you've already answered 2 months ago. And so I'm going to need you to facilitate her. If you cannot, we can't be together. If you can, let's rock and roll. He said, sign me up. right? So I at least let him know, this is who you're choosing, baby, because I don't want us to fail.
Right.
I don't want us to fail. And if I don't have the awareness of what I need, I can't expect you to show up and figure that out. Now, I do say this, that a partnership, even a friendship, is not about you coming healed and I'm coming healed,
right.
and then get your shit together.
No one is fully healed.
But these relationships nowadays are islands. Like, once you heal, Joy, then come to me. It's like, hold on, wait a minute. I'm never going to be perfect. And so if you cannot help me heal the parts of me that you're going to be exposed to, I don't want no parts of you. Because your responsibility and my responsibility, even as friends, is to say, Joy, hold on. What's going on right now? Where did I trigger you at? We better than that, sis. What's up? Talk to me. Okay, so let me know what that trigger word was so I understand what word not to use, and I understand what your boundaries are, because I care about this relationship. And I don't want us ever to have to go to war. So what I need to do? Let's have this conversation.
Girl, you just said so much, though. But okay, hold on. I don't know where I want to start. Well, let's work backwards.
Go ahead.
How do you advise someone to be transparent about their traumas, to be open and authentic to the point that they feel comfortable, but not trauma bond with someone?
Right. And so comfort is your responsibility. No one can make you feel comfortable. I'm choosing you because I've already felt a comfort in you. Mm-hmm. So my thing is, if I choose you, I trust you. If I don't trust you, I'm not choosing you. So once I choose you and I see that you want to be chosen, obviously, back, and it's reciprocal, then I'm going wide open. That could be a week, a day, a couple weeks. I don't think it takes a month. That's too long. I think
to be transparent with someone?
Mm-hmm. About how, let me tell you why, because...
What kind of transparent?
Transparent, let's say, about the abandoned little girl that's in me.
Okay. I think after a couple weeks, if you're feeling somebody, you need to be honest.
If we go on a couple dates because we're grown at this point, if we lock in chemistry, we go on 2 or 3 dates, we almost start to see each other as much as we can.
Right.
And that's kind of like the trajectory of dating, and there's real chemistry, right?
But also that's a good thing to put on it, though, is we are grown.
Right.
Like, I don't know if this conversation necessarily applies to a 23-year-old.
Yeah, I did at 23.
You did at 23?
At 23. My first engagement was 23. And not only did I verbally say it, but I think at 23, my actions more showed it, because I didn't have enough self-awareness at 23 to say, listen, I'm an abandoned little girl and I'm going to look crazy as hell half the time.
Right.
Because at 23, I just was figuring out that I had abandonment, and I'm figuring out what unconditional love looks like, and he's trying to figure that out with me. So my behaviors really exhibited abandonment and trauma. And he was just like this really good guy from this really great family. And, not that he was perfect, but he didn't have as much trauma as my butt had. And he was just like, look, I'm just trying to love the hell out of you and facilitate you, and I'm not leaving you. And I was just like, rah, rah, rah. And he's just like, but I love you. I'm not going nowhere, but I'm here. But I still want to marry you. But I still want to be with you. But I'm here. I'll sleep on the door. I sleep on the balcony. I'm here. Like, I'm not leaving. If you lock the door, I'm sleeping at the door. Like, and this is D1 college football player. This ain't no just regular little, not with all due respect, little L7. This is a dude who, black and white dude, handsome. I mean, he's in demand. Women want him. He's not just some regular Joe Blow. But he was what I needed at that time, because I needed to have somebody, Joy, who I knew, or who God knew could prove to me that abandonment wasn't the only way. Mm-hmm. And that somebody can stick it through, somebody can be there with me, that really does exist. Even if we didn't make it to forever, I needed to know that somebody had my back. No matter how crazy I acted, somebody loved me unconditionally, and that unconditional love was real. How did I know he loved me unconditionally? Because of the advice that I'm giving you and everyone else here. I took my chest and I opened up and said, bro, look at it. Look at my scars. Look at my wounds. Look at my heart. It's shattered. It's broken. Look at my vulnerability. There's abuse over here. There's trauma over here. There's heartbreak over here. There's neglect over here. I'm crazy as hell over here. I'm going to be insecure over here. I'm going to fuck around and completely dismantle you. I'm finna emasculate you over here. What's up? You want it? Are you taking this ride or not? I don't want nobody with me who ain't going to take a ride with me for who I am. If you can't ride with me for everything I came with, bruh, you gotta go.
That he did that because he wasn't traumatized? Because the reason I asked you about the trauma bonding is I used to be that way.
Yeah.
I used to call it the joy brochure. Like, I would just give the joy brochure. Like, here's all the crazy shit. Like, it's this thick. There you go. Boom. Dust flies off the table.
Yeah.
It's very dramatic. I'm like, I have this and I did this and you're going to hate that I did this and this is in my past and this is what I dealt with and this person and all of the things.
Yeah.
And the people that would, some good people accepted it, but also people took advantage of my unhealed parts of that and found ways to make me feel guilty about my past and preyed on me and terrorized me. And because of that, I have drawn back tremendously on, not that I'm not transparent with people, because I do think it's important. Like, I've been divorced, I've been engaged, ended an engagement, I've been through all kinds of crazy shit. And I do think it's important to be honest with people about that. But no one gets the joy brochure anymore. Like, you have to earn it. There's no flyers on the wall. You have to prove to me in a lot of different ways that I am safe here and that you're not ever going to try to use it. Because to me, the biggest betrayal that anyone can do to me is to take vulnerability that I have given them, whether that's me confessing something about my past or letting them into my traumas or bringing them into my life, and then they use that to hurt me. That will make me into the craziest bitch you've ever seen in your fucking life. And it just like makes my head spin around. And I don't know if I can afford to have somebody do that because I might really like fucking crash out.
Let me ask you this. How do you know that you're safe with me if you don't give me anything to protect?
Okay. You spitting a little bit. I mean, you can give a little bit.
That's fine.
Right? You can give a little bit and see how they handle that.
You can go at your pace. But the other thing is, and I package this up with so much love, so just catch it with love first, okay? When they took advantage of you, when they used your beauty, your vulnerability, it's your trauma, your pain, your vulnerability is it's so beautiful. The right person is going to be like, oh my God, like, you went through that? Like, I love you. Like, you, oh my God, I get a chance to lick your wounds. I get a chance to be intimate with that. I get a chance to help you heal on that. I get an opportunity to take this brokenness and I get the one that gets to say, I put that back together. I did that. Like, that's a stand-up man. That's a stand-up woman. That's a stand-up person. We all looking for that.
Right.
You know, what we lead with is what we value most. And what we value most is where our safety is. Mm-hmm. So, like, I used to lead with being more confrontational because for me, I was safe in confrontation. Yeah. Because I got confrontation as a young woman that allowed me to externalize my pain. And so I wish you would say something so I could light this place up. Because my pain needs a place to come out. Right. So say something. Say something so I can light it up. Or we can argue. Or we can get physical. That's how I ended up kicked out of Los Angeles Unified School District. Because I needed to externalize my pain. So I was walking down a hallway in high school wishing and hoping somebody said something. Right. Because I needed a place to put my pain. So what's up? But as I work through my stuff, I'm not confrontational anymore. I'm strong in my opinion. I'm solid in who I am. But I want to talk about the vulnerable stuff. I want to talk about love and what it feels like. I want to talk about the unconditional love. I want to tell you my scars and my business, and I want you all in it.
Oh, no.
And so,
you're right. Yeah.
But that's because for me, I'm now, right? I'm not doing all that. I'm now safe in that space. Yeah. But it took not just work, meaning like therapeutic work. It took the second part is what a lot of people don't get a lot of the times. And you mentioned you got it sometimes and not it, and you didn't get it sometimes, is having people in your space who you do the Superman wide open chest thing to, and they're like, still love you. Still here. All good. Hold on now, that was a little bit too much, Shy. That may be a little bit crossing my boundaries, but still love you. Mm-hmm. Give you your space, still here. What do you need from me? And that's not people being piñats. That's actually people being in a stronger place than you are, or than I was at that point. Yeah. Who can hold more, facilitate more, hold more weight.
So I want to pivot a little bit and talk a little more about dating specifically, and some of the manipulation tools that people use in dating. And I was talking to my producer about this earlier today, and I find this fascinating because I am very pro-therapy. I think that people should do therapy the way that they want to do therapy. I think that's important. I think it's very hard to find the right therapist. So sometimes people can try therapy, get a bad therapist, and be like, I'm not doing this. But there seems to be this trend with people now where, and I don't want to come with the men. Actually, I don't care. It's really mostly with men, where they're like, oh, like I'm in therapy. And it's become this new flex. Now, as someone who's done a lot of therapy and been through a lot of therapy, I feel like I have good weaponry to maneuver through if you're actually doing anything in therapy. And it's hard because therapy is like, I liken it to like getting in shape.
Oh, yeah.
You have to have the right trainer or the right workout program.
Yep.
The right exercise that you like to do. You have to be into it.
Yep.
You got to sleep. You have to drink water. You have to eat right.
Gotta do the work.
You have to push through. When you start to plateau, you have to make it harder for yourself.
Gotta do the work.
That's what therapy is. And it is uncomfortable. And a lot of times it fucking sucks. You're going to leave feeling like shit and drains. And then you have to do things that your therapist tells you to do. You have to be honest and transparent with your therapist. And I've gone to couples therapy with exes before. And I don't know what they're doing now, but I would not be surprised if they said that they had gone to therapy. And they did not go to therapy. Like, were they physically in the room? Show. Were you participating in this? No. And they're arguing with the therapist. They're trying to therapize the therapist. They're straight up lying. Wow. That is a lie. That is not the truth. You can't lie to your therapist.
I would have loved to have y'all in my session.
Oh my God. Woo. Dr. Cheyenne. Like one of the sessions, actually, she was an incredible therapist and very experienced, and she broke that shit down. She was like, look, I don't give a fuck what you do or who you are. You don't know more about my business than I do. So you can say whatever it is you want and create this fantasy for yourself. Good. And I see that you're living there. But here in reality, on this planet, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how many fucking times you say it or how many different ways you say it or how many times you say it to her or anybody else. What you're saying is incorrect. That is not the law. That is not how this works. And you are not going to tell me how to do shit.
I do my job. Yeah.
So if you want to be in this room, stay in your fucking lane. It didn't help, but
I like her. Sign me up. Sign me up. I like her. I like her.
What do you think about that, though? Kind of using therapy as a little bit of a manipulation tool. Yeah, weaponizing it.
I think it happens often, but it also happens between couples. I have couples who come to me individually and then in couple session. And I had actually one of my clients today, she said, he used what you said last week in the couples therapy. And he said, see, Dr. Bryant said that, that nothing I do is good enough. And, and so she went into that. And so that was him weaponizing it.
Yeah.
And using it to pretty much manipulate her to see it his way. Because that's not what I said. And that wasn't the gist of what I said at all, right? So, but I also think that therapy is a personal thing, that if you're really doing the work, there's no point of bragging about it. Unless speaking on it is actually a ministry to change somebody else's life or to shift somebody into it or because you're referring your therapist to them or you want them to know the benefits of therapy.
Yeah.
And you're like, look, I go and these are the changes I've experienced. But this is the thing, whether someone tells you or not, any work shows results. And so if someone's doing the work, like I tell my clients, if you do the work, it works. And it's not about just going to therapy and talking. And there are, to the defense of a lot of the patients and clients, there are a lot of therapists who just say, tell me more.
Right.
And that's not work. That's not work. That's just having a social hour. And so, like for myself, I have a very forward approach, and my clients know it. And I always say this, they know when it's coming. Like I did with you, I said, I'm going to wrap it with love. And they're like, go ahead, Dr. B. And then I go with the gusto. And to the point where I have clients come in, they're like, listen, can you just tell me, like, straight up, give me your perception, what I need to work on? What is it? I've been with the client for 2.5 years. She's bawled her eyes out every single session, in the couple session with her husband and by herself. Finally, today, she said, can you just tell me, Dr. Bryant, really, what is it? Is it me? What I need to work on? I said, are you sure you want to hear that? She said, yeah. I said, well, you play the victim role all the time. You have a victimized mindset. You weaponize sex, divorce, and everything else towards your husband. He's drained, he's checked out, he's over it. You haven't had sex with this man in a few years. It's not cool. And you are using every manipulative tactic to try to get him to change. You've been with him for 15 plus years. This man is not changing, nor do you have the right to change him. We have two options. I say either you're going to stay and learn to love this man how he is, and then learn how to self-soothe and be disciplined, or you're going to pivot this marriage. There are no other options, because weaponizing this for the past 11 years is keeping yourself in prison. That's self-inflicting pain, and that's sick. And she said she literally bawled for 2.5 years. This is the first time this woman stopped crying, sat herself up in her chair, looked at me and said, now, mind you, her hair is usually all over the place because she's just distraught. She's in a deep depression. She took her hair, did this little sexy thing, and she said, you know what, Dr. Bryant? You're right. I've been the victim this whole time. And I do weaponize. You know what else I weaponize against him? She goes, I take the divorce papers and throw it in his face. I weaponize that. So the awareness, though, of her just hearing the truth, because we can't hear a lie.
Yeah.
She could have paid me one time 2.5 years ago and saved her money and just let me be the straight shooter that I am.
We have bills to pay,
right?
So it's
and I could have just told her, listen, this is what it is. But she wasn't ready.
You have to be ready to receive that kind of feedback.
You have to.
You have to be ready to receive that kind of feedback.
Otherwise, that feedback can dismantle. It could break her and cause more impairment. If she's not ready, she literally was just like, tell me. And you know what she said? She'd been threatening to divorce this man for 2.5 years, George. She said, you know what, doctor? Can you just help me and tell me what to do? Because I think I'm going to give it another try. While the husband's been fighting the whole 2.5 years saying, I don't want a divorce. She's like, no, I want to give it a try. Tell me what do I need to do? I said, okay. Are you going to commit to this? Because don't waste my time. She said, I'll commit. So we'll see what happens in the next sessions. But that was sessions of today. But what I'm saying is us coming to ourselves is the biggest, best blessing we can ever have, period. As much of how many people just don't want to hear about themselves.
Well, hearing about yourself is hard, you know.
But it's your biggest blessing.
It is. But a lot of people do not want to hear about themselves. And a lot of people don't, I think a lot of people don't trust the people in their life enough.
So we're giving it.
To give them that. And when we're talking about therapy, I also realize I'm speaking from most of the space. I'm speaking from a place of privilege. Like therapy is not something that we have made into the rest of the healthcare system,
an available resource,
right? Yeah. The going to the dentist, going to a surgeon if you need surgery, going to the eye doctor. You know, this is regular things, and therapy is really a privilege for a lot of people to participate in. It's not something people have access to. We demonized it for a long time. Yep. I remember growing up in high school, if you went to therapy,
you're crazy.
Or you had to go to if you said you were depressed, or you had to go to Western Psych, like you were an outcast. Like, oh my God,
crazy.
Like who knows what could happen? Like, okay,
so taboo.
Right. It was an extremely serious thing to even say that you are thinking something like that. And I had a friend hang himself in high school. Ooh. And it was extremely jarring for all of us.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. I mean, it was awful. It was not only traumatizing because, you know, I remember seeing him at his locker and thinking like, oh, you know, there's Chris. I'm gonna see him. You know, I'll see him tomorrow. I'll like say hello tomorrow. And he was at my house all the time. Like we're all just being high school kids, and you really don't know what's going on with people. And even in that. When that happened, people were like, "Well, why did he do it? Like, no, there were no signs. Did he write a note? Like, how could this happen?" And anytime, you know, someone does take their life, that is the response still, because you're trying to justify this loss of life, but it's really like it was a young introduction.
To figure out how did you miss it if you were so close, or you know, how did you miss it when a lot of times the signs aren't there? Yeah,
and I was suicidal at a very young age, and not having access to any mental health resources. Really not even.
How old were you?
Around like 12.
Did you attempt or just ideations?
No, just ideations. I didn't have access to obviously to anyone to talk to about it, but what I made peace within myself was, one, I felt like I would have given my abuser the dub.
When you say abuser, you're referring to your father?
Yes. Like he would have won.
Can I ask, was it physical, just physical or sexual as well?
Physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. Like he just terrorized the entire family.
Abuse?
Sexual was later in my life.
With him?
No,
Okay.
with someone else.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a lot of physical abuse with my mother. Like my first memory in life is him chasing around my mother around the kitchen table, and she is screaming at him not to hit her in front of us. So violence and like that kind of constant unrest and terror and narcissism and all of those things that are like constantly present. You never know if it's going to be a good day. It's a good day for 2 days, and then you did the same thing you did yesterday, and now this is wrong, and you have to, like, the whole thing. But I didn't want to leave my mother.
Yeah.
So I felt like because I was sort of the oldest in the house and maybe I just made this up, I don't know. I've never talked to her about it, but I felt like she needed me and I would be abandoning her. And so my pain was worth pushing through to not abandon her.
Wow.
And obviously, I'm very grateful that I did, but there was no one to. There was no one to talk. We are too.
Very grateful that you hung in there.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad
By the way, thank you.
I'm glad it all worked out. And we can laugh about it, but yeah, but there are a lot of children who are in 100%. That space, and it's really hard. Even as you get older and you recognize how chaotic that is, it's why I feel very strongly about parenting and like how people treat their children and if they're present in their children's lives and how they show up as parents. Because when you and my mother is wonderful and I have a great, very close relationship with her, but I don't speak to my father. But to me, like being a parent is a commitment. Like it is something that you invest in. You are making a life change to be responsible, not just to make them, not just to put a roof over their head, which my father did, not just to put food on the table, what my father did, but to create a functioning person. And that doesn't mean that your child is going to turn out to be a good person.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
It doesn't.
Totally.
There's a lot of things in life and factors that are out of your control. But you have a responsibility as a parent to be present, to be active, to be being a parent. And I feel very strongly when people just create children and don't.
Well, that's because you are a product of abuse.
Yeah.
Abandonment is abuse.
Yes. Abandonment is abuse. It is abuse.
Abandonment is extreme emotional abuse.
We normalize it in society too much, that when parents aren't present because of this or because of that, and I'm not a crazy person. Like sometimes people have to take jobs in other states. Like there's finances that are involved.
There's circumstances. That
Nothing
make
is everything
permissible.
in all.
Totally.
Right. However, it maddens me how much we normalize the broken family or creating more broken families as something that is functional.
Which is a form of abuse. Anyone who is creating several houses that are homeless, keyword is homeless, that means that home is lacking presence, emotional support, mental support, and if you go into financial and the rest of the supports, that is called abandonment. That is abuse. That's no different than physical abuse, sexual abuse. It looks different, but the impacts on it are often even more of an impairment than anything else. And so you have folks who literally grew up in blended families or broken homes who are growing up as neglectful, abandoned, abused individuals who don't know how to navigate through that. And to your point, because they deem abuse as physical or verbal or sexual, they're not deeming abuse as emotionally, you totally dropped me, left me, did not even support me. Still to this day, I don't know how to navigate through my emotions. I don't have a good relationship with my feelings. So when I get into a relationship, I stay transactional. I don't know how to go relational. So when I'm trying to facilitate my children, if that person grows, at some point has their own kids, I don't know how to facilitate their emotions. I don't know how to parent them. So I keep it very touch and go. I keep it very transactional. So therefore, I don't teach my kids that emotions are safe. Emotions are good. It's healthy to feel. It's healthy to identify your emotions. That is okay. So now we're creating this generational pathology that continues to go on with not only this brokenness, because even if that individual who comes from a broken family doesn't get the help to identify the abandonment that neglect has caused, they get into a very much two-parent household married and create the same fucking dysfunctions in that household.
Yeah.
So now that two-parent household, right, is now functioning as a broken home. because you got someone who came from brokenness, teaching brokenness in the home, and learned behavior will always oversee anything that you teach somebody verbally. This is the thing. Words don't teach, experience does. And you can teach what you know. You create who you are.
Yeah.
And so if I am who I am, which is broken, and I don't never identify that I've been abandoned, which is abused, now I'm getting into this relationship, teaching my kids through learned behavior, then watching how I show up in my relationships and how I relationship with them, how to be broken as well. Because broken is a way of being that we can unlearn and we can heal from. Broken isn't who we are born into.
Yeah.
So we learn how to be that. We got people who learn how to be depressed and aren't even depressed by watching their parents in the household while they're identifying what behaviors of depression look like. And they clothe themselves with that. And here they are, 25 years old, going, I'm depressed. No, the fuck, you're not. You learned how to be that. But you're not depressed.
Yeah, you don't have a hormonal
You don't have
imbalance,
that. Your cortisones are not lacking. They're not inflamed.
Mm-hmm.
No.
But what do you say to someone who says they aren't abandoning them because they have some presence in their life and they support them financially?
I think that, in even to Cam, he said this on his podcast. He said, Doc, in one of his vulnerable moments, he said, Doc, I'm pretty much doing all that I can do. You know? And I said, no, yeah, absolutely. Once you create something, then you do all of what you can do. Doesn't mean that the kids are doing. I came from a blended family. I'm not a divorcee. I'm not a baby mama. I come from the hood. I'm educated. I beat every single statistic that the hood lays out. I beat all of them and will continue to beat. That's why I fight so strong for our community, because I beat them. But I know what it felt like to be in the system and have no way out to beat it. So you can't tell me that you can't do it. You can't tell me that it's not possible. I'm not going for that, period, at all. I'm going to push. I'm keeping my foot on the gas because I know what it feels like to be in an environment of drugs, abuse, trauma, and the hood, an environment that is unsafe, and make different decisions. So I'm not going for it. Now, if you've already made those decisions, no, you're not doomed, but you got to learn how to reprogram. You got to learn how to go from brokenness to peace. You got to take your broken pieces, make peace from it, and do something different. You can't sit up and say, well, I did what I did. I'm giving the best I can, and then continue to do the same rhetoric. It's just not going to work. Why do you think our community is the brokest community that there is? Because we don't family. We don't commune. That's why, period. We are the brokest people on earth, not in the United States of America, in the world, because we're not marrying, because we have 5 houses that are homeless. And if you go further with even saying you dating 5 women, well, you can't even satisfy 5 women as one man. I'm 42, my libido's through the roof. I'm enough for 10 women. So you can't possibly be in my house in multiple houses.
Every year I get older, I'm like, what am I going to do?
What is going on?
I have to have sex every day and I can't.
We got to get married. We got to find a husband so we can just take
him
them down every morning, every night. Even
because it doesn't used to be this way.
Yeah, let me take a sip. Oh, Lord have mercy.
It's warm in here.
It got very hot right now.
Relatable.
Okay, we're back.
Yeah. So I have a theory about this. I don't want to say it's a theory. It's just my opinion on the situation that you just laid out. I do not understand why people view having a child as less of a commitment
than marriage.
I don't understand
marriage.
it. I don't understand it. It makes no fucking sense to me. And when people talk to me about it, I'm like, you're speaking another language. That doesn't make any fucking sense to me. You're making a human person. You are forever joining DNA with that child. Even if you are not present, even if you've never even met the child, that child exists somewhere. And your energy and DNA and life is in that human.
Yep.
You can get divorced.
And you can't undo it.
You cannot undo it. You can never unparent yourself. You're always a fucking parent. Now, the pushback is, well, you can be an ex-wife. I am an ex-wife. No matter what I say, I've been married. Like, I've had the paperwork, went to the courthouse. I've got the 250 people watched. It was a thing. Like, I've been married. I can't undo that.
Right.
But that person is not present in my life in any capacity. They exist somewhere, but they don't have to be.
No.
And even if you don't have to be a parent, you can never say to someone, I didn't make a child. My brain doesn't work that way. I do not understand how anyone can say anything different. Do you feel the same?
Absolutely. I would definitely marry somebody way before I have a child with them. Period. I would call off a wedding before I have a child with you.
Of course.
My thing is I won't have a child until I'm married. I'm not divorcing my husband, and all my kids are going to come from you. And so if it's you, know that 1 or 4 are all going to be from you, with you. I'm not divorcing you. So
I feel the exact same
we're just
way.
going to have to sit at the table and
figure
figure out what we're doing.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. But once the conversation goes there, disconnect. I'm not talking about this. I'm going to work out. Call me when the conversation is, when I'm not negotiating this.
No.
I'm not doing it. Period.
I agree. I 100% agree.
And that's the number one thing for me that makes me so apprehensive about choosing somebody. Because we obviously both have a plethora of options. That's common sense. Is if I see, and this is where my abandonment is. This is where my abandonment is, y'all. If I see a mustard seed, that small, smaller than a mustard seed, inclination that you even thought, look like you want to pivot for anything that happens, sabotage. I'm out of here. Out of here. Out of here. If I can't feel that you are riding through any and everything, and I'm talking about everything, you can call it toxic, dysfunctional, unhealthy, you gonna ride through everything, I'm not walking down no aisle. We can have a great companionship. We can travel. We can be best friends. We can have great lovemaking. I will baby honey daddy you to death. I may cook and bring you food. You can do the same for me. I'm not doing it. Because marriage for me means a family. And I'm not co-parenting with anybody outside of my marriage. There's co-parenting within a marriage. I'm not doing that outside of my marriage.
I could not agree more. I have no notes. I think that people, when they pick partners, and this is how I think about, picking a permanent partner, to what you're saying, like, we're going to die together. Sorry.
Period. Right.
I'm never doing it again. Like, if we're not going to die together, what the fuck are we doing? Let's just go to Paris and have a good, fun weekends. The libido is high, eat some shopping, eat some escargot, have some champagne. But if we're actually doing this, we have to be aligned on a whole bunch of things.
Absolutely.
And we can change our minds. We can adjust the goals. But the communication has to be that we're going into this with these aspirations, not financially, not acquiring things, not that. It's just that every decision that I make, and you make, we consult each other on it. We understand that this person came here with this goal and you came with this goal, and whatever that goal is. If the goal is make $1 billion, fuck it. That was our goal going in. If it's not, we don't want to do that anymore. We want to just live how we're living. Fine, but a partner to me is all encompassing, like everything in your life. I agree. And I feel like a lot of people want to have a wedding, but not a marriage.
Yeah, I talk about that. People choosing the marriage and not the person. But that's what I was saying is when we choose the marriage, we're looking at the transaction of it, whether it's the wedding, that's transactional, or it's the partnership, or even a man who marries a woman saying, hey, look, I think she would be good for business.
Yeah.
There's a lot of men who do that too, right? Successful men all have wives. And so what happens is because he chose her for business, transactional, not because likability, compatibility, or someone he really wants to be and build with, then guess what? He can easily go have a couple side chicks in a whole nother state or city because he's not plugged into this woman. He's never been plugged into this woman. So whenever we don't plug into somebody, then we can go clothe whatever ideology we want on anybody. And we can go into production with anybody. If I plug into you, I'm experiencing you, not my ideology of you. So if I go to try to plug into somebody else somewhere else, I won't get that same electricity. I won't get that same charge. It's impossible. It doesn't mean that man still can't step out or that woman can't step out. But my point is, if I never plugged into you, then I can go anywhere and just have an outlet. Anywhere. Because we're transactional.
Yeah.
But if I plug into you, your pain, your trauma, your wounds, the good you, the bad you, the ugly you, that's just what she does. My wife just be tripping. Here she go going off again. But this is the loving side of her. She's such a good soccer mom. You know your mama going to rip you a new one. Oh, Lord, here she go. Oh, you in that sexy lingerie. All those different facets of who you are, it is going to be very, very challenging for me to go plug into somebody else from a relational space. I'm not saying transactional. He won't pay her to leave.
Right.
But what I am saying is he won't be able to plug into her like he plugs into you. I'm not condoning cheating. I'm just speaking about being in my field for 17 years. I've seen men do a lot of different creative things. And the men who... The creative things, girl. And the men who don't cheat, because there are men who don't cheat. The men who don't cheat, they are the men who are completely plugged into all of their wife. Her trauma, her wounds, her cellulite, her yeast infections. I'm naming everything. Mm-hmm. Transparency. He's plugged in. He's so invested in this woman that he's so hyper-focused on the investment in her. Where space does he have to invest into anything over here?
Right.
And when us women, don't hold men accountable to plug into what we have to plug into, which is showing them what we got, then guess what? They don't get the chance to plug in. So for me, you would never get the opportunity to date me, let alone lay with me and be inside of me. And you haven't got the opportunity to see everything that comes with this good, this crazy, and this bad. No, bro, you finna roll out the whole red carpet. You're going to roll out the pistol. I need to know, how are you going to help me heal this? And how are you going to protect this? Because provision isn't just pulling out a pistol because somebody's robbing us. Provision and protecting me is, do you protect my heart? Are you worried about not hurting me? Are you worried about what's in that phone or what you do at the bar when you're traveling? Are you so concerned that you leave the dinner or the cigar lounge to make sure that you're in at a certain time, not because I control you, but because you want to protect my heart in a way that you know that's the right thing to do. And I ain't told you to do anything. All I said was, good night, baby. And 10 minutes later, you saying, babe, I'm in the room. I didn't have to tell you nothing. Yeah. Because if you're plugged into me, then you're fused with me. And when you're fused with me, you're empathizing with me. You feeling what I feel. We're not disconnected. And I don't want you inside of me so you can feel my vagina. If you can't feel my heart, you can't feel my spirit, you can't feel my mind. I don't need an insert. I'm good. I'm grown. I can reach orgasm all by myself a couple seconds. I am good.
Right.
So, and we do well. I'm in a multi-million-dollar home. I'm driving Bentleys and G-Wagons, and I'm a little girl from the hood, so I'm not bragging. I'm just saying where I came from. You can buy the Birkin and buy the Rolls Royce and take me on trips. I do want that, by the way. But you're going to do some other things. You're going to wake things up in me and activate things in me that make me fall in love with myself.
Yeah.
And so you are going to make love to the God in me. You're going to make love to my wounds and my pain. Period. You're going to be inside of me and say things to me that don't just get me off sexually, but have my heart in my stomach that goes, oh my God, you know I got you. I love your wounds. I love your trauma. You mine. I got, what? That's an internal orgasm. At this point, I'm like, oh, you don't even got to stroke me no more. So, yeah. but women, we make the mistake of not trusting ourselves enough to show the man that we would like, that we want to be with, our wounds. Because we are at a deficit within our insecurities that we think is going to make him waver. Sis, will you make him waver? Like make him waver.
It's true, though. It is a constant feedback that I get, because I really struggle with being vulnerable. Even the show, like the past couple weeks, all of my friends, everyone that I work with has been like, you need to be more vulnerable. We know the vulnerable side of you.
Yeah.
We talk to the vulnerable side of you all the time. We love you. You're safe. And it is really hard to get. But what you're saying is the truth, though, because when you're with someone that you truly feel safe with in all of those aspects, there is nothing else like it. Like, there's no other kind of intimacy that you can achieve if you are not fully vulnerable with someone. You can have good sex, you can have a good relationship, you can have fun, you can be together for a long time.
And when you've had the real, deep, vulnerable, intimate sex is not good anymore if you don't go to those depths.
No.
I've had it. So intercourse is not entertaining, enlightening for me anymore. That's why I can go a year and a half on accident not having sex. Not because I don't want it. It's because if you are not penetrating me in so many other ways, foreplay for me is wanting to know about my wounds. Foreplay for me is texting me throughout the day. Foreplay for me is, babe, I seen you did this. Look, what did that mean? You good? Foreplay for me is, did I say something that bothered you? That's foreplay. Foreplay for me is, let me pray over you. Foreplay for me is, it may be too soon for us to have sex because I want to make sure you're in love with me before I penetrate your body. That's foreplay for me. At that point, you don't have to pursue. I'll be throwing my pheromones at you in ways that you won't even be able to catch. You
Right.
know how God says he will bless you exceedingly abundantly above all you can ask or think of? Foreplay a woman like that, and she will bless you exceedingly abundantly above all you can ask or think of, and not just in the bedroom.
Yeah.
But in every way. But we as women, I can't not enforce this enough. We have to start trusting ourselves enough to say, listen, I want you to penetrate me, not my body. So before I get naked physically in front of you, let me get naked internally in front of you. And let me see what you do with that. Why are we not running that play?
I think for me, it was a lot of forgiving myself for decisions that for some reason I convinced myself that people wouldn't love me through.
That's it.
And that was I should say is, but we'll go with was. We'll soften it.
Thought you was gonna be vulnerable.
Is still something that I'm working on, because the things that really, really, really stuck with me, that really allowed people to control me. Mm-hmm. Now I'm like, I wouldn't. If someone was mad, like if I told someone that and they were like, oh, like I don't really like that.
Can I ask you this?
I would be like,
let me ask you this: what are the things that you feel if somebody knew they would not want you? And don't go transactional.
The abuse for a long time was something that I didn't talk about. The physical abuse was something that was a very big trigger for me, and it took a very long time for me to even talk about it with my family. So, let alone someone that I was dating. Like, it just wasn't something that I was willing to get into. And for me, when I got into therapy, that was a big part of it, the boundaries, and then also just realizing, like, I don't have to explain myself. I'm a grown woman. If you want to date someone that doesn't have any trauma, hasn't been through anything, like, God bless you. Like, good luck. Surely, good luck. But also, I understand that. I shouldn't be for everyone. I don't want to be for everyone. But I have to forgive myself before I expect someone else to accept these things in me.
And then at what point...
The trusting self part will be the next step.
But then...
I'm sure I'll read it in the book.
But in what point, Joy, do you give yourself the real opportunity to really be fully loved unconditionally? Like, how long do you wait for you to want it bad enough that you're willing to just take that jump?
Well, we'll have to... I'll keep you updated. Because that's the journey. But that's part of healing yourself, is getting to different levels of vulnerability.
100%.
Well, you ate me up today, I'm not going to lie. And
you did
with
so
friends
good.
In the room, they're like, You did anyway, so we told you. Before we let you go, thank you. Before we let you go, tell us about your book, which you were so kind to gift us, and I'm very excited to read.
It's a mental detox. This is actually a book I wrote in 2015. It's the bestseller. It's 2014. It's been 10, almost 11 years. And it's still selling out off the shelves, literally. Like, we are just like selling out at our live shows, at our speaking events. I'm on a speaking tour as well. So I don't know. Go purchase it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and see why it's selling out. Leave a really good review. My next book, called The Divine Wilderness. Y'all, let me say this. Get Mental Detox first. Get that book first. Because The Divine Wilderness, that's a whole nother level of a book. It's such next level that even when I'm reading, when my editor gets it back to me, I'm literally in tears going, who in the fuck wrote this book? Like, who evolved to this? I'm like, who are you? I'm looking at myself as a reflection. I'm going, who are you? It is not going to shift. It is literally going to change your life. And I'm not saying that to sell it, because you can buy one book and share it with 10 people. I'm telling you, the Divine Wilderness is going crazy.
And when is that going to be out?
That doesn't come out until summer of 2025, so y'all gotta wait. But it's not far away. But it is just, I can't wait for people.
We in 2025 now, so that's in a couple months.
That's in a few months. Yes. So yeah, that's my book. We have merch. The Doc Squad, y'all been asking for merch. It's on there. Y'all just haven't been doing a good job of going on to the shop, drbryant.com. We have hats and shirts and hoodies and all that good stuff. And then the other thing is my talk show, True Talks. It's Monday through Friday on Fox, and it is pretty much it's a global news with the Black voice, and I'm bringing the fire. I'm very real. I'm very me. And yeah, tune in. I think y'all will really like it. And then too, like, leave your comments. I don't care if you disagree with me. I like dialogue. I like people to express themselves. Yeah, so that's pretty much all of it. And I want people to 2025. I want people to really get into this self-love space, which is not being an island. It's loving yourself enough to allow people to see you so that they can love you too. That's really important for this year.
All right, it's time for Never Too Personal. This is when we get to chat with you. You get to send in your questions. You want advice. You want to tell a story. You want to send a voicemail. Never Too Personal. This is where you do it. Send everything that you want to talk about to twopersonalpodcast@gmail.com and follow us on social media at Too Personal Show. On Sundays, we post a prompt so you can go and click on the story and send in your question or your story on there as well. So we love hearing from you. And this one I thought was very interesting because I don't know if everyone's going to agree with me, but I don't know that I give my opinion because I think everyone's agreeing with me. So we'll see. We'll see if the girlies fight about this. But the question was, what is considered foreplay to women? So look, we all have different things that we're into. So I'm only going to speak about what I think generally is foreplay to women. So girls, please don't get mad at me. I don't give a fuck if you get mad at me, but just do your best because I know we're all into different shit. I think that foreplay to women is really about being intentional. It's not all the same. It's not physical. It's about making sure that the woman that you're with feels comfortable and that you're paying attention to her. I can't tell you what sexually you need to do with your girl because we all have different shit that we're into. But when you're getting ready to get busy, don't just jump in the fucking pool. Take the stairs. Is that a good analogy? I feel like that's a better analogy, right? Don't run from the other side and jump in the fucking pool, okay? Because the pool's not wet yet. You got to take your time. Come down the stairs. Make sure your foot is on every single one of those things, the little steps so you don't slip, and just ease in. That is what foreplay is to women. We want to feel comfortable. We want to feel sexy. Maybe it's a little massage if she's into that. Maybe it's, a couple of sweet nothings in her ear while you guys are watching Netflix. Maybe it's you cooked and cleaned the house and, you got her flowers today and she had a really tough week. So now she's ready to go because she sees that you're paying attention to her. There's a variety of different things. But foreplay to women is, I think, emotional. I think it's attention. I think it's intentionality. Whatever that is for your particular partner is her. And whatever it is sexually to your particular partner, you should know that as well. And take your time to find that out. So I can't give you complete, direct physical advice, but just be intentional, be sweet, and tap into her emotions. Take your time getting in the pool. Don't jump in. It's the best way I can put it. Send in your questions to twopersonalpodcast@gmail.com. Or again, follow us on social media as you should be at Too Personal Show. Go on IG on Sundays. We set up the prompt so you can send in your stories. We love hearing from you guys.